Welcome to MNB World Talk Show. Today we have invited a person who wrote a book, How to Study Abroad for Masters. So she also got Fulbright Scholarship and she is an executive director of Selbe School of Innovation, Mrs. Khongorzul Bat-Ireedui. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, sure. I'm really impressed when I saw your resume. So you were working in many projects, right? So could you please tell us why did you decide to work in educational industry?
So to be honest, it was very unexpected. Well, first of all, I grew up in an educational background. My father is a linguist, which means he teaches the Mongolian language.
Yes.
Culture and history, and he's a lecturer at the University of Mongolian National University.
Right.
My mother is also a Mongolian language teacher, but she's also a Chinese language interpreter. So she teaches Mongolian language to foreign students, and basically I grew up very close to education, but it's kind of my personal belief and passion as well, I guess. Because I believe that education opens the doors to many different wonderful opportunities, and you know, it allows anybody, it doesn't differentiate people, it allows anybody to use that opportunity to pave the future for themselves. And so as a child I've always been, you know, a hardworking student, and since graduating I've always wanted to study abroad, but because my parents don't have the opportunity or money to send me to a expensive private school or study abroad at a university overseas for bachelor's and master's, I figured the only way was to study on a scholarship. So ever since I was a teenager, I've been aiming to study on a scholarship. And because of that, I started a blog, and I felt like there's lots of opportunities for Mongolians, but people don't always know about this information. So, and then although the internet is broad and huge, lots of people don't know how to use it. There's not enough content in Mongolian. So I started my blog, and it's a long story, but long story short, with Selbe School, it was just an unexpected opportunity. The Selbe School is established with the investment of one of the shareholders of MCS Group, and they decided to establish a new school in the building of the former Orchlang International School, and so they proposed this position to me, and I took a long thought over it and discussed with my family, and felt like this would be a great opportunity to make a difference in the education sector and contribute.
So thank you. And now let us introduce you to the audience in photos and resume.
Okay.
Wow, interesting. So also I know that you were studying in the USA, in Japan, right? But the most attractive thing for me was the fact that you grew up in the UK, right? So could you tell us, had you their cultural shock, kind of culture shock?
So the reason I went to elementary school in London, UK, is because as I told you previously, my father is a linguist. So he was teaching at the University of London, School of Asian and African Studies. And so I was 6 years old. My younger sister and our family, the four of us went. It was right during the social revolution transition period. So I personally think we were very lucky.
Yeah.
And I want to thank my parents for that. So we spent 4 years there, and as a child, I didn't really know what to expect. Even for anybody at the time, it was 1991, going abroad to such a developed country. Like the first thing I remember is that there was so much shining lights when I landed at the airport, when we got in the car and went home. And then the first time I had a banana, it was an unforgettable experience. Because only when I was a kid, we used to have these dried brown bananas. But
Yellow
when
ones.
we went to London, I tasted the real ripe banana for the first time. It was unforgettable. So things like that, I guess it's part of culture shock. But for me, more than a shock, it was just a transitional experience, I guess, adaptation. Because, you know, there's nothing to compare with. So it was a different experience. And I went to elementary school. So when I was 6 to 11, I was there. Usually elementary school is 6, 7, 8, and 9 years. And so I went to elementary school at a school called St. Mary Abbots. And overall, the difficult part was the fact that I didn't know English because I only knew Mongolian, but as a child it's easy to learn a foreign language quickly. So the first year was a bit of a challenge, but I gradually picked up. And the best part was UK is a country that's racially mixed. So you know, there's lots of Asians, Africans, Americans, you know, Europeans. It's a mixed group, so it's really nice.
So you didn't face really trouble, right?
Not as much, but then again, I didn't really know what's hard or what's not. When looking back, I was bullied a lot. I used to be kind of chubby by the time I was 9-year-old, and they used to call me flat face, and they used to say nasty things. But at the time, I really didn't know that I was being bullied. But looking back, I was being bullied. But I feel lucky that I didn't notice much of it, because it would have hurt me more, and I would have not liked school. And I didn't really want to bother my parents, so I didn't tell them about this much, and I just got through it on my own. So, you know, as a child, you don't really feel much of a culture shock. You just go smoothly into it. But after, when I went to Japan at my undergraduate level as an exchange student, there was culture shock. They gave us a course, they gave us training about adaptation and culture shock and the honeymoon period and things like that. And I was like, oh, I've been abroad a lot, I should know these things. But when it comes to real life, there was culture shock. And especially for a culture as rich and as historic as Japanese culture, it was a difficult period. The first month was tough because that time my parents had a car accident as well. And I left them in Mongolia. So it was a really stressful period. That might have affected me emotionally as well. But so, you know, each case is different. And I think because it's at each time in my life, at each different age, the culture shock period is very different.
So were you happy in your childhood, I mean, there in England?
Yeah, I was a pretty happy kid. I felt very...
Despite of those words that you were saying.
Yes, I was a happy kid. There was lots of new things. Gradually we learned English, and I made friends. Interestingly, my friends, very close friends, were British children, and I'm still in contact with them until today.
So sweet.
And if you look at the class portrait, I can name every single child in my classroom. So I personally feel I'm very fortunate to have gone through that experience, and today that educational experience, I have lots of things, details, or programs that I want to embed into my current job at Selbe School.
Okay, I see. So you're a very high educated person. So, and I think that you had very many opportunities that people maybe offered you to stay abroad, to work with them, right? So why did you come back to Mongolia?
Well, before going to America on the Fulbright scholarship to study for my master's, I was working in Singapore, and I had a 2-year contract. But because it was a scholarship, I either had to choose staying in Singapore or taking the scholarship. But in my mind, I felt that if I got the scholarship and gained a master's degree, then any other job I can, apply and achieve in the future. I felt the value was more in the master's degree than just staying abroad for a few years. So I took the opportunity. With the Fulbright scholarship, usually scholarships have a condition Whereas when you study on a scholarship, you have to go back home to your home country for at least a minimum of 2 to 5 years, and then you get access to study. I mean, obviously I could have applied anywhere else in the world besides the US, but to be honest, I feel there's more opportunity in Mongolia. Because we're a developing country, there's lots of things to do, lots of opportunities that are unfulfilled, and lots of loopholes in different, possibilities to change. And there's also the saying that do you want to be a big fish in a small pond or a small fish in a big pond? If I stayed in the US or if I went to England, or I don't know, I mean, I've considered, obviously I'm human, I considered that as a young person. I've considered there are times in my career when you feel like giving up, when you feel hopeless, when you feel useless. I've always considered, discussed with my husband of moving abroad. But despite the fact the country isn't as always supportive in terms of developing young professionals like us, we have to strive, and as a result I feel like we can be valued more in our home country. For example, because I know English first of all, and that I have a master's degree in a certain field, and the fact that my Mongolian and other experience is good, I can value myself more here than however people would value me overseas. So long story short, I'm more valuable here than anywhere else. So I felt like, you know, I should pursue my career here. And for a woman, you know, a woman's career is very short. In that short period, we graduate university at 20. We, you know, probably our career ends at 45. I don't know. And in that short period of time, we have to have kids. We have to take care of a family, and then we have to pursue a career. So, you know, time is ticking, and I felt like it's more meaningful here.
You established Khongorzul.com, right? And you also wrote the book, which is called How to Study Abroad for Masters, right? Could you please tell us more about the book and the website itself?
Okay, so it's more of a blog, a personalized blog. The reason I started the blog is because there's lots of opportunities for Mongolians as a citizen of a developing country, lots of scholarships, lots of programs that are fully funded, but because of language limitations, people don't know or don't have enough information about this. So it was my personal challenge as well, but because I knew English, I had, I guess, broader access to information. So I figured that there needs to be more information spread out, especially for young Mongolians, and
a known language, right?
Exactly, and especially teenagers, they don't have lots of information to them in the Mongolian language. So I started 2 or 3 blogs that went quite viral. One of them was comparing the Mongolian higher education system to Americans when I was studying on the scholarship. And the other was just, you know, information about scholarships available to Mongolian. And when I started this blog, because it went kind of viral, lots of interest grew. The media picked it up, icon.mn, gogo.mn, and local news MN, you know, websites picked it up, and there was lots of interest. I kind of got more motivated. I understood and I felt that there was so much demand in this area. So, and this was in 2013, right after I finished my first year at my master's school.
Oh, I see.
So, and then, so because I was really busy with school and I was a mother, a grad student, I decided to just make one blog post each month. So I couldn't do like lots of blog posts as a full-time blogger, but I decided to commit one blog post one month. And I did that. And so the blog consists of information about studying abroad, scholarships, and personal development, like how to write your CV. And then sometimes when I get emotional, I write kind of memories or, you know, struggles of being a woman, struggles of being a mother and things like that. So yeah, lots of women kind of relate to it as well.
I see. So then let's shift to that difficult question, as I think, about the time when you were a single mom studying abroad, right? So I think you had a really a lot of difficulties to give birth, then to grow up a son there. Could you please tell us about that?
So my son was born when I was living in Japan right after graduating university. And then, because at the time my then husband was studying at university in Germany, we couldn't be together. And so I had to give birth alone. Well, I mean, raise him alone in Tokyo. And so that was a bit of a challenge, but thankfully my family helped out. They were a big support. And the Japanese social benefit system is pretty good as well. When you raise a child in Japan, they give you social support. So until 3 years old, children don't pay anything for medical care, as well as pharmaceutical supply and medicine services. So, and then they also give child money, so that was a big help. But in order to support myself and also kind of get back socially integrated, I started working part-time at a convenience store. Do you know Family Mart? So I started working there when he was 3 months old, and so I didn't ask my parents for diaper money or anything like that. And that was the first part-time job. And then after he was 1 year old, I started working at an HR recruitment company that recruits assistant language English teachers for Japanese public schools. So I used to teach English as a second language to Japanese public school students as well. And then after that, I went to America on the scholarship, and during that time I was a single mom as well. But when I was in Tokyo, I was still with my husband, but kind of raising him as a single mom because he was distant. We only met like once or twice a year. In the US, as a single mom studying for a graduate degree, it was pretty much a challenge. Because when you're in Mongolia, lots of people help you. You can call your mom and say, hey mom, come over, help. Or you can call your cousins and say, please take care of my son. But when you're abroad, it's a very lonely experience. And then luckily I was with my brother-in-law for 1 year, and then alone after that. But still, he has his own school to go to. And so, the difficult part was there was a lot of sacrifices. Sometimes there would be nice social events at school that I wanted to attend to, but because I didn't have a babysitter, my son's school runs from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. And from 6 p.m. onwards, I really can't do anything unless I take him with me to university. So, which is kind of, people give you a look, there's lots of biases, staring, and then they're like, how do you, raise a kid and go to grad school? I can't even take care of myself. Lots of annoying comments come from students and friends. So that was a bit of a challenge, and financially it was okay because the scholarship provided enough, and I also got support from my family, so financially it was okay. It's just a matter of balancing schoolwork and taking care of the child and making things, even. So there was a lot of sacrifices, but at the end, looking back, I felt like it was all worth it. My son gained lots of cultural experience. He made friends at school. He learned English, and he's got a cute little American accent right now. And he's all grown up now. He's 7th grade, but at that time he was only 4 years old. So I think it was worth it. I really wouldn't recommend other moms to do it. It's really tough. But if you want to do it, then it's all for a good cause.
Good recommendation. Thanks for that. I think you are sometimes really overloaded by this, right? By all your work, your family work as well, because you're a woman. So how do you handle it? Let's take a look then on your hobby package, right?
So I've been working out with boxing for the past 1.5 years. And the reason I started this sport is basically because of a recommendation of my friend. And initially, the first week was really, really hard because, first of all, it's a lot of cardio. And as I've researched about boxing, it was the initial beginnings of the HIIT, highly intensive training program, but boxing is really highly intense. And overall, boxing is a very highly intense mental sport as well, because people think that boxing is mostly handwork, but it has a lot to do with feet as well. It's literally the whole body working at once. And in addition to that, the brain is also working. So another good thing about boxing is that I try to use this time breakdown to my daily work life. So when you work 40 minutes or 1 hour of intensive work, you take 10 to 30 minutes of break. It's really helpful and it makes you stay focused. Also, besides working out in the gym, boxing is also good cardio. So if you want to lose weight, especially for women who have gained weight after pregnancy and giving birth, it's a really good sport. And one of the reasons that I took it on is because I gained a few pounds after giving birth to my daughter, and that's why I took on boxing. It's really good.
Wow, you're so powerful woman. You have a really long resume and I was really inspired by you, so thank you for that too. So, and then I saw that you are really an active participant in humanitarian work, right? So you equipped the waiting room of the maternity hospital, right? Mm-hmm. Could you please tell us about that?
Okay, so it's kind of like a hobby, but more useful hobbies. So I try to participate in social development or humanitarian projects in my spare time. And the first one was when I wrote a book called, as you said, How to Study for a Master's Degree. The book was, I published it when I raised funds from my friends and the public. I raised funds and then the publication fees went to the book. But when you sell the book, you earn proceeds, right? So I used those proceeds to provide assistance to social projects. So the first one was helped renovated the surgeon's office at Medical Hospital Number 3, the heart surgeon's office at Medical Hospital Number 3, and then the second one was I donated some of it to the tuberculosis-free Ulaanbaatar project, and then some portion of the income I provided to the medical treatment for a child with leukemia. And last year that project was besides the book's income, it was more my personal project. My daughter was born with a rare syndrome called Pierre-Robin sequence, and she had to have a surgery at the Mother and Health Center right close by here. And so at the time I felt like, okay, since the hospital itself is funded by public funds, so they don't have any nice facilities or things like that. And I renovated the waiting room at the hospital. What the waiting room does is every child from 0 birth to 18 years old goes through that room in order to have their surgery. So everyone who's going to have a surgery has to fast. They can't eat anything from the night before, and they can't even drink anything before surgery. So they have to wait like at least minimum 3 hours to 24 hours without food. And the waiting room was really bland. It was boring, just, very few toys, nothing to do. So I personally felt like I could contribute here, and I renovated the furniture in the room. I collected toys and books as donation from my friends, and some of my other friends donated with furniture as well. And gradually people gave me even money for increasing the amount of facility that I provide there. So in all, it was good, and the hospital was very happy. Lots of children were happy. So yeah, it's very high loaded during the normal day, and it's a busy time. So, that's what I did. So
that's really admirable. Thank you for that too. So you're a really hardworking person. Let us move to your office then.
Welcome to Selbe School of Innovation. This is where I work. Selbe School was established in 2020 and it's part of the Selbe School and Kindergarten complex. The school has a capacity of 624 students and 80 students in the kindergarten. We also have a fitness club and health facility, and soon we will also have a college prep training center. My job as the executive director is to ensure smooth and full operation of the whole process and the system, which is quite a tricky task, and each day is not the same at all compared to the other days. So as part of our enrichment program, we've introduced a science program called SHIMT, which is a Mongolian version of the STEM program, and it's basically for kids from 1st grade to 12th grade, as well as there's a different program for kindergarten students as well. So the purpose is kind of to make sure the kids love science from a young age. In addition to that, Mongolia is lacking engineering in many different fields, and our purpose at the school is to make sure that children get to know about science from a very young age, have awareness about it, and learn the different aspects of different engineering fields. And when they grow up, perhaps in high school, they'll choose their profession right and also fulfill the demands that are much needed in the Mongolian career development field, especially in terms of architectural engineering and design and engineering.
Wow, nice school.
Thank you.
So let us talk about then your family. What kind of mom are you?
I don't know what kind. I don't think I belong to any different type. Sometimes it's really hard being a full-time working woman and then having 2 children, especially one is very young, only almost 3 years old. So it's very stressful sometimes. Of course. But I just try to be the best mom I can be to them, to the extent that I can, but I know that I fail sometimes. I'm not a good mom, especially when they get sick. You know how it is as a mother. Especially when they get sick, I feel guilty, I feel bad, I put the blame on me. But the best that I could do is try to balance everything. And luckily, given that we're Mongolians and that we're an Asian family, our extended family, our parents really help and support us. Especially during COVID, there was no kindergarten, no school. My parents-in-law really helped take care of our children. So that was really helpful. But and I'm grateful for that, because some people don't have that help.
Of course,
so, you know, for me, I don't try to, you know, put them in a box or force them to do things they don't want to. I just make sure that they're going on the right track. And I try to read lots of child development articles and suggestions and advice from professional people. I take them to the health checkups when they have to be done. Otherwise, I'm a normal mom.
Okay. So in the end, what is your biggest goal and dream?
Well, in the beginning, it was different. When I was young, I wanted to be an ambassador. I wanted to travel the world and represent Mongolia and, you know, be a good representative of our country, be a cultural ambassador. But as, you know, life doesn't always go as planned and things change. And, you know, opportunities like this one come along, and so you can't really say one thing, I guess, but my goals and dreams are just to be, you know, leave a footprint, footmark to the extent that I can, as much as possible, whether it's in the education sector or the humanitarian sector. If I could say something that I wish, you know, if I had one wish, and that would be, it would be more like I want to be a philanthropist. I want to be like really successful and have way enough money that I establish a foundation and then use that money to do philanthropical work. Well, the book is just a, you know, small case, but, you know, more. I want to be more impactful overall, not just in Mongolia, but perhaps maybe internationally.
Thank you very much for your coming.
Thank you.
Thank you. So Today we had Mrs. Khongorzul Bat-Ireedui, who is an executive director of Selbe School of Innovation. We will see you next time. Have a nice evening. Goodbye.